Welcome to Everyday English Sips, where I keep you updated with the hottest breaking news from all around the world in an easy and fun way. So grab your favorite snacks and drinks, and let's explore today's explosive headline. Did the CIA really ignite a new conflict between Thailand and Cambodia as part of a much deeper global strategy? This story isn't just about two neighbors. It may be about oil, power, and a hidden war stretching from the Middle East to Asia. Let's break it all down. 1. The bigger picture. What Colonel Macgregor believes. Colonel Douglas Macgregor, a retired U.S. military officer and well-known political commentator, recently gave a shocking interview. He claimed that the United States, or more specifically, a group of ultra-rich elites, is pushing for perpetual conflict around the world. He says this isn't about democracy or peace. It's about control, profit, and keeping power. According to him, top elites, intelligence agencies like the CIA, MI6, and Mossad, and global financial giants are pulling the strings, not just in America, but worldwide. He even suggests that what's happening between Thailand and Cambodia right now might not be a simple border issue, but part of a much larger geopolitical game. 2. From Ukraine to the Middle East to Southeast Asia? Macgregor believes that after failing to defeat Russia in Ukraine, Western elites are shifting their focus, especially toward the Middle East. He claims that the U.S. and its allies want to destroy Iran, provoke Russia and China, and keep the world locked in a cycle of chaos. And while they do this, smaller regions like Thailand and Cambodia become part of that game. The CIA, he says, may be quietly stirring conflict in Southeast Asia as a distraction, or as part of a broader strategy to grab resources and challenge regional alliances. 3. A new global shift, BRICS versus the West. One of Macgregor's boldest claims is that Western power is fading fast. He says fewer countries trust the U.S. financial system. Nations like China, Russia, and Iran, members of BRICS, are creating a new system that's based on resources, not debt. Instead of borrowing money from the U.S. and being trapped by interest, countries like Senegal are now turning to China and Russia for help, without strings attached. This shift, he warns, is pulling power away from America and the West and making global tensions rise even faster. 4. The internal crisis in the United States. Macgregor doesn't just talk about foreign policy. He also criticizes what's happening inside America. He says the U.S. is financially broken, politically divided, and ruled by a billionaire class that controls both major parties. Many Americans, he claims, feel hopeless, like their vote doesn't matter anymore. Even former President Trump, Macgregor says, is now just doing what powerful donors want. He adds that Trump may be physically and mentally declining, no longer able to lead the country effectively. 5. Middle East powder keg. Finally, Macgregor warns of a coming storm in the Middle East. He says the U.S. wants to destroy Iran, even if that means war with Russia and China. And unlike past conflicts, this one could bring together some of America's strongest rivals, united by shared interests and shared enemies. According to him, the U.S. is dangerously underprepared. Its missile stockpiles, factories, and supply chains aren't ready for a war of that scale. Meanwhile, other conflicts, like Syria, Iraq, and Gaza, continue to burn, making the region even more unstable. Conclusion: a call for peace. Macgregor ends with a warning. Wars are gambles. And if Washington keeps gambling instead of choosing diplomacy, we could be facing a global disaster. He urges leaders to talk, not bomb, and to fix the problems at home before trying to reshape the world.
I think the truth, as far as I can tell, is that both nations, the Thais and the Cambodians, have good relations with China. There has been an attempt to somehow or another implicate China in the dispute. That's simply untrue. there is evidence that we have aggravated the situation. Now, why is beyond me. I have no idea why we would think there is anything of strategic benefit to the United States and the American people to aggravate the situation. But I'm told the CIA has been very active, and this has obviously harmed any attempt to put an end to this. It's a border dispute, and it should end on terms that both sides can live with, and we should have nothing to do with it. This is a very important question, and it's one that I've been wrestling with for some time. I think we have to understand something. As much as everyone wants to impute leadership and authority to President Trump, I think he's really the creature of the top 1%. In other words, you've got to look at the interests of Wall Street, as well as the City of London banks, who are joined at the hip with Wall Street. You have to understand that the CIA, the Mossad, and MI6 are all closely integrated. You have to understand that there are other elites that may not be part of the banking elite, but are nevertheless interested in subversion and destruction. And they are advocates for perpetual conflict on the assumption that we benefit from it. You can't look past the truth that we have failed miserably in Ukraine. That's abundantly clear. There is no winning anything in Ukraine now. Russia has come out on top. Russia will end this conflict on its own terms. Governments in Europe are going to change. You've seen that start where you are. I think it's going to happen across much of Europe. The globalist elites, if you want to call them that are part of this top 1%, are losing badly in that arena. So what do? You turn to the other area where there are enormous oil and gas resources as a means of compensating yourself for the loss you've taken in Ukraine. Remember, the idea behind Ukraine was let's dethrone Putin. Let's regime change Russia. Then we can rape it, strip it of its resources, divide it into smaller parts. That's now the plan for Iran. So I think that Trump, who just a few months ago actually spoke very rationally about what was in America's interest and, frankly, in the interest of the West, is now simply saying what the powerful billionaire class of donors want him to say and do. And they want war in the Middle East. They want this to continue. They want to destroy Iran. And if Russia sticks its nose into it, which is inevitable because the Russians are not going to tolerate the destruction of Iran, they're not going to tolerate the subversion in Azerbaijan, then we will find ourselves confronting Russia and Iran, and behind them, of course, China. Because there's something else, and I think you implied this in some of your earlier remarks. On the one side, the Western finance system is debt-based. In other words, that's how we finance ourselves, that's how we grow. Foreign investment comes in. Well, George, foreign investment is not coming into us anymore. Nobody wants our treasuries. As Nassim Taleb says, the dollar is no longer the reserve currency. Gold is. So I think that's part of the problem. Secondly, that old system that we have used, we in the United States weaponized it to bully others through the SWIFT system, through the IMF, through the World Bank. All of these institutions from Bretton Woods forward were designed for us to bully others into doing what we wanted them to do. Nobody wants our debt. They want to de-dollarize because every time they do business in dollars, they lose. We pass our debt on to them. And the new system that is being set up by BRICS is resource-based. It's totally different. And what we're beginning to see is in many countries around the world, particularly in places like Africa, places like Senegal, for instance, that has gold mines, they're basically concluding we'll never get out from under the debt burden that we have. So we'll just nationalize it. And the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians and the Indians, everybody said, fine, do it. Join us and get out from underneath this oppressive system. So Trump is now lashing out at the insistence of the billionaires that funded him and brought him into office and everyone that opposes him. Now, that's a losing proposition, George. We have no chance of success at all. It's a dead end. But he's somebody who still thinks we're living in 1991. And his frame of reference is the late 1950s, early 1960s. So he dismisses out of hand countries like Iran or India or Pakistan or Zaire or any number of places in the world as irrelevant, as though they all have to do what we say, because if they don't, we'll punish them with tariffs. This is backfiring badly on us, and we're headed to a serious financial crisis in the United States and the West.
I hope you enjoyed my content today. Whether you agree or disagree with my source, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear them. However, please be polite and respectful to other opinions. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you guys in my next video.